my cat might appear at one point. I have a funny looking cat. Ones that look like an old man.
Like an old man cat, so like a member of Kiss, basically.
You'll see in a minute.
This town deserves a better class of
Heavy Metal Podcast.
I'm gonna give it.
If you do not listen,
Then the hell with you.
walk through the gate of consciousness. Stop, flow, drop from Monday.
Well, you beautiful mother punchers, before we get into our holy deep dive on the tiny man with a giant voice, I managed to cyberbully Joe Nally, the bassist, lead vocalist, and frontman for the London-based trio that is absolutely blowing up in the world of heavy metal right now, URNE. Those of you who listen regularly to the podcast know I am a huge fan of this band. I featured them as an example of the future Oocher Oocher of heavy metal and played a clip of Desolate Heart off of their debut LP, Serpent and Spirit. But now, URNE have released their second record, titled A Feast on Sorrow, through Candlelight Records, and about which Dom Lawson, the singular voice on English heavy metal, says, arguably heavier, certainly more aggressive, and several levels more intense than its predecessor, A Feast on Sorrow is ridiculously good, and it will probably make you cry. Can confirm. Lawson continues, URNE have topped their brilliant debut and delivered the most sincerely heavy experience imaginable. If your heart can take it, I couldn't recommend it more highly. So I managed to catch Joe while waiting outside his house on a Zoom meeting that I did with him while I was in America, and here is some of what he had to say.
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
No, it's fine. Hopefully I haven't got like a swanky setup, so hopefully the audio is good enough for you.
You know what? It's good enough. How are you doing, man? This must be crazy right now. You just released the second album. There he is. Oh, yes. He's like Grumpy Cat.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Otis. Yeah. So, but yeah, mate, everything's been going good. It's been pretty surreal.
I bet.
You know, it's it's been an 18-month process or maybe longer. I mean, it's not last November, November before. So yeah, about 18 months, 19 months process since we kind of started writing and what we were going to write about and what have you. And now it's done.
Yeah. And you put it out.
And it's just now it belongs to everyone else.
Right.
It's weird. Like we played a really big festival this weekend, and it was very odd for me. It was a really weird feeling, and I just, I wish I could have felt as happy as everyone else. It was weird. Once we played, I just wanted to say hello to a few people and just hang out with my mates, just like my actual mates outside of music. And I didn't want to be there. It was like a weird feeling. It was a bizarre feeling that I had. And I guess some people will get it and not many will.
I think if you've been a performer, at any point, you get that. Roger Waters talked about, the wall came out of the fact that he just wanted to put something up between himself and the audience. Like, I just want to play the music, kind of disassociate. Mm-hmm. I started out as an actor. I've been an actor on doing a lot of classical theater and Broadway and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which led me to tech. Makes perfect sense. But I've definitely had that feeling where I'm like, I know where fans wait outside the door, and I'm not going to go out that door. So that actually leads me to a question I wanted to ask you, because this is such personal material. This is, I mean, this is about loss of two family members, correct?
Mm-hmm. The one has sadly passed, and one, it's obviously it's a declining process.
Yeah.
So sadly one passed.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's really tough. My dad passed in 2006, and it was about a 2-year process as well. And so that long, slow kind of this, a lot on this this album hits really hard. I was listening to it on the way in, and there are certain lines that stand out, like When the flood came rushing in, there's that line about, our hearts will never be the same. That feeling so strong if you've ever been through that, where you're like, this is not, I'm never gonna get over this. I'm just gonna get further away from it. And I wonder for you, in sort of anticipating continuing to play this album for people and continuing to play this live, if you've already noticed the way that you feel about it start to change, or if you can anticipate it changing in the future as you get further out from it.
There might be moments when performing one of the songs, it might kind of catch me, but it was weird. It's once I finished writing the lyrics, that was when I was kind of like, I felt a bit free of them. Performing them was like the next stage, and there's videos that Joe has where I've got a pretty loud voice, and there was some takes where I was having to stand outside the booth and shout against the wall so it'd come back. But it was like, you have to do everything for this. It has to be the right take, and you have to get the right amount of emotion, and that's what's led to some people. Today alone, I've seen people going about a hardcore vocalist. No, I wouldn't say that. That's my voice. I can do a lot of my voice, but I'm not trying to mask. There's certain screams that what you're hearing is mine. Right. I don't want to just sound like someone else. So once that's out, once I kind of got that out, performing the songs, now it's almost like a muscle memory. Like I have to learn how to play the bass, get it all kind of put in. It's kind of falling from one level to another, and then it all kind of comes out into the mic. And I don't maybe feel so much emotion yet, but I'm a little bit. I just need some time for myself to kind of get over it. But already, already in this brief 2-3 days, I've had people reach out, and people replying to other people on Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot, saying how already this felt like an album that they personally needed because of this reason or that reason. I've had someone to say, today I had to put down both my dogs. And then this album comes out just about grief. It's not just about, because it's about dementia or Alzheimer's. It doesn't mean that it's just about that. And if you haven't been through that, you don't know. It's just about grief of losing someone, be it quick, be it slow. And that person who's gone through, I mean, I can only imagine, like you've just seen my cat, and I think about it all the time. God, and the fact that someone's had to put down their dog, sadly, but then they managed to kind of find some release in listening to a metal album, which is about grief. It's kind of things like, oh, fucking hell, okay. But I'm still got to get my head around it. It's still it's been a weird one. Sometimes, I think maybe when people go, oh, it's always, you can speak to someone or whatnot. But if I can't figure out what I need to say, it's easy for me to, I'll end up writing about it. But we've got a show on Thursday, and I feel like, it's almost a week that people have had it. So
I wonder if you'll see, a sort of unique response to the music now that people have had it for a week. It's really interesting that you say that I was listening to it the other day, and I was thinking about, because I'm a Shakespeare nerd, I was thinking about Richard II saying at the end of his life something about my soul is on high and my gross flesh sinks downward to die. There's something about that, like that experience of death and grief. And people will say to me like, oh, I've never lost a parent, so I don't know what it's like. And it's like, no, but you've lost a dog, you've lost a pet, and loss is loss. You just scale it up, you know what I mean? And
totally.
You know the experience. It's just like, you dip your toe in the river, you know what the ocean is basically like. You can imagine it,
Totally.
And I was thinking about that experience of listening to this, and it does have that kind of exaltation, something spiritual, that it feels like there's something that spiritually lifts out of that album of grief and loss of something corporeal,
Yeah, I get you. I mean, that's really nice and kind to hear. It's weird because I don't necessarily read. I'm not very well educated, and I've learnt along the way, I guess. And one of my friends, she come around and she read the lyrics before the album come out, and she's amazed that I literally don't. I have books and I have all the intention to read them. But mate, it's pointless. I don't know, it doesn't connect.
Everybody
with me.
processes information differently. I'm a super, super slow reader. So like last
Ugh.
night I was watching a show and there were captions on it. And I was like, wait, I got to go back. And my wife's like, I'll just read them to you. Okay. And I was like, okay, I have 2 degrees and I cannot read the thing fast enough, man.
It's just, I just don't know what it is about it. I mean, I'd love to be one of them people who do like a book a week.
Oh,
But
fuck
then on the
no.
other hand,
No.
I couldn't. That's like bloody. I don't even know. I feel like if someone went, you need to read a book a week for the next month, or like we're going to take your house away, I'm getting prepared to be fucking homeless because I can't do it. So
No, I was
but
the kid
yeah,
that everybody
it's-
had to wait for.
I need
Everybody
to-
had to wait to turn the page. So I've got this anxiety about I have to
Yeah.
read fast enough. So I'm trying to read it, but I'm like, I'm not taking any of this in. None of it's coming in.
Yeah.
I'm such a slow reader, but anyway, yeah.
I think that happens to me, to be fair. When I start to read, I'm like, I know I've just got to the end of a page and I cannot tell you a fucking thing that's just
Yes.
happened.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
I just don't bother really with it. But yeah, I get what you mean about, you know, the lyrics having that sort of purpose. I guess for me, when it comes to writing, I know I need something to write each song about. I find like I want it's just a line, I feel, and then a lot falls out from that.
Yeah.
So this one was easier to write about because it's a current process. You know, it's something that I can draw from all the time. Like the reference of look to the shore and follow the fires. They will lead you back to peace. Now, where we've moved down to the coast,
Yeah.
we all live. My parents, live like, you know, the sea's just around there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but a point of the year along the shoreline, they like these big fires, like these big pits that you can see for like miles and miles, and that's the reference of like, you know, whenever you pass on or what have you.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, look for those and you follow that and you will find us. And that's what that's based on. And there's a number of things I look back kind of to and like the bit in flood and just when we felt alive,
Mm-hmm.
the flood came rushing in. It was like, and just like when we started this new life, the flood, I mentioned in something else, the flood wasn't the ocean or what have you. It was just funny enough, just there, where we kind of got everything confirmed to us that we already knew, but it wasn't official. And the flood was actually, I couldn't lift. Start whenever you get shocking news, as you touched on, with losing your father. Like, I couldn't lift my head up because it's almost there's like an embarrassment sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
All I could see was just where across from where I was sitting was my sister, and I could just see tear upon tear hitting the table. And that is the flood. That was the flood of her emotion, and there's all different things. I kind of maybe need to read through them for myself and to remember the lyrics. And
do you struggle with that at all ever?
Yeah, do you know what? Today there's a piece written by Kerrang, a massive piece about me, and I absolutely feel sick at the thought of reading that.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you if you read reviews or if you, because I've been reading a bunch of reviews and they're this is superlative. You're in a great place with this album. You know, there's always going to be detractors, or like you said, Germans and Americans don't seem like it has something to do with World War II, I'm sure.
No. Do you know what? We've only ever played Germany once and it was amazing. I just think what it is that they have a certain style of metal over there, and it's maybe very different. But saying that, they've not been bad reviews at all. They're all gone like, oh, you know, it's a good album. There's room for improvement. I'm like, I'm not an egotistical person at all, and that's one thing I try to pride myself on with the guys. And you know, I'm always reminding them, but not because they're not like it at all. I'm just like, you know, we could always do better.
Sure.
You know, but you can't ever tell me that's an okay album.
I know exactly what you mean. Dude, the worst review I ever got in my life was for All My Sons, and I played Chris, and it's this, I mean, I'm bawling my eyes out. It's just the soul-rending experience. And the first review I got was Quinn Matfield is good as Chris, and I'll never fucking forget that. I'd rather you tell me you hated everything. then tell me
Yeah.
that's good. It's like, do you know what this required?
Yeah.
Can you listen to,
People
you can
just don't
listen
get
to A
it.
Feast on Sorrows and go, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
No, man.
Yeah.
No.
Do you know what? What matters to me is like actual fans liking it, and they seem to like
Yeah.
it. And over here we have a guy called Dom Lawson, who is the metal guy.
Uh-huh.
Always has been, always the best. And he reckons it's next level.
It is.
And I like that. But I did see one last night, and I mean, they could not get out of their head that a metal encyclopedia had us listed as sludge and doom or something. And I'm like, mate, I couldn't tell you.
Right.
I was in a fucking sludge band for years. I couldn't tell you another fucking sludge band, mate. Couldn't give a bollocks. I couldn't give a shit if it's sludge, doom, fucking jazz, fucking classical. I couldn't give a shit. And they could not get it out of their head that it wasn't what the archive said it. I never wrote it.
Right.
I don't give a fuck. Again, they didn't say it was rubbish or whatnot. You know, there's a lot of room for improvement. When I look at what else they've reviewed and given a good score, I'm like, you're chatting shit, mate.
Yeah.
And do you know what? And it's not being like, do you know what? I've got to be proud of what we do as a band and what I feel is good. I didn't think Serpent and Spirit was that great. I think that's a 7 out of 10. I think there's some really shit tracks on there, but I think the best tracks on there are better than what a lot of bands have to offer. Things like Desolate Heart, Serpent and Spirit, Memorial, you know, we've gone out there and done a 10-minute instrumental, but that was because it was a bit fun then, but now this is serious. But what I find is one thing that I kind of, for me, it's weird. I read so many things where people are desperate to pigeonhole what our sound is. I'm just like, guys, it's just heavy. It's heavy metal.
Yeah.
But it's written by 2 guitarists and 2 songwriters instead of 1. That's why it's got, and I'm like, it's written by 2 guys who have invested their life into a lot of music. You go around my house, have fucking prints of Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Thin Lizzy, because that's my life is invested in music.
Yeah.
If I just listen to metal, we'd be half the band we are. I'll maybe want to make it a bit more uncomfortable for them people to pigeonhole us because if you know me and Angus personally, you know what we're into. You know what we're capable of. And now we've got a drummer that I feel like can elevate us to that level. James. I can't wait for what we do because, James, he's just taken us to another step above. But now I think the thing of us, now we get a bit of confidence and people are digging it. There's so much more we can achieve and do. And the one thing that we've done on both them records is we've done what we want to do. And that is it. I've done, and I only need to impress Angus, and Angus only needs to impress me.
That's
James,
good.
James is like, I'm there to write the drums. The music's written by myself and Angus. And that to me is grown up, that Lars and James thing. Yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
We don't give a shit. We do what we believe in. Don't get me wrong, with Metallica, a lot of it's fucking wrong. But it can be when you've done what they did for them first 5 albums, you know. As long as me and Angus keep doing what we want to do, and that's what I think people like about it. Yeah. Then you'll get people who go, oh, well, the vocalist should sound like this and should do that. All right, go and form your own fucking band.
Exactly.
Do your own band.
Right. And
what is good is that I feel like more and more people are like, wow, this is refreshing. But then I'll see some reviews go, oh, you know, it's pretty solid and pretty safe. And then they'll spend a paragraph trying to pigeonhole what our sound is. So I'm like, what is it?
Yeah. Is it safe or is it something you can't quite name? Right. No, I think it's great. And you know, that to me is always vocals seem to be always the thing that people get hung up on. I get hung up on them too. And I'm good with almost everything as long as something has, an authentic sound. And to me, the vocal that you have, the scream that you have is immediately so effective because it just sounds like you're pouring your heart out. You know what I mean? And I think there's something about that that's so beautiful, especially in a very harsh sound, in a sound that most people outside of metal would go, good God, what is that? And not listen to it for more than 2 seconds. But, you know, I hear it and I go, this is pain. This is, people think that it's always anger, and it's not always anger, it's pain. You know?
Well, I think some people, there's a lot of people now who do a lot of this, like Melissa Cross stuff. there's a lot of vocalists that sound the fucking same now.
Yep,
How am I
absolutely.
going to sound the same? I'm from South London. If I try and mask where I'm from in my
Yeah.
voice, don't get me wrong, there's some tracks like A Feast on Sorrow. I go deeper, like deeper than I've ever done. There's other clean singing. I've gone higher. But my shout, I learnt fucking going football.
Yeah.
That is how I learnt how to shout.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's my voice. And I'm
I
not
love
going
it.
to hide that.
No.
And it is what it is. But quickly touch Matt. Let me tell you, 95% of the reviews have been, this is extremely good, to the album of the year, to the best album in a few years. So that's fine. It's just that them two reviews.
Yeah. You know what? It's my wife and I are both actors, and I keep saying, you're going to read 10 reviews and they're all going to be great, except for one's going to say something about your hair, and you're going to be like, what's wrong with my hair? Like, you didn't read just the 9 first reviews that were like, this is glow. I told you, man. I told you when I heard it earlier that this is next level stuff, and you were smart. You were like, look, it's not about, I'm not trying to change a game. I'm just trying to do stuff that, that I like and whatever. But I really do think that this is going to be one of those like inflection points for you guys, and I think for so many fans. Like, this is a real changer. This is because it is hard to pin down. It is hard to know you are going from post-hardcore to suddenly into a death metal growl to all of a sudden I'm hearing the opening to And Justice for All, and then there's the piano bit at the beginning of Feast of Sorrow, which sounds like classical music. You're including all of these influences into something that is uniquely you. And I felt the same thing on Serpent and Spirit. I'm surprised to hear you say that you there are things that you wish were better on Serpent and Spirit. I'm counting down songs and going, what are the songs that you don't care for as much?
Okay, so the drum production could be better.
Okay.
Palace I'm fine with. Serpent I'm fine with. The fast part of Moon, rubbish. Limited drummer, I don't think it's good enough. I think it's a really shoddy ending for a great kind of what could have been a great rock song. I think Desolate, different level. Someone listened to it for 2 minutes and signed us. Desolate. Envy the Dead, tacky, simple, shit lyrics. Some of them I didn't write, and I didn't realize it was fucking ripping off from King Diamond. I had no idea.
You're teaching me too. I didn't know that.
No, Memorial 2, I think, could have been something more interesting.
I love Memorial. I think it's so wonderful. I love when you guys go into the it's such a fine line, but it feels like Orion, that it's
sorry. I meant to say, I'm sorry, Memorial Part 2.
Sorry. Part 2.
Memorial's wicked. Memorial Part 2. I'm like, that could have sounded better. That could have been better. And Tomb is fine. I think the ending of Tomb is rushed, and I think the intro, and I think the intro is a 1 minute too long. So, but I think on the next record, me and Angus have already got a song written, and it's just we like a lot of music, and I don't want to go. Let's just have a part that sounds like we're not going to a part that sounds that Madonna. Just because I like Madonna. No, it just has to be what falls out of my hands.
Yes.
What falls out of Angus's hands. What pops into my head. I'm not going to go, I'm going to purposely want to write a riff that sounds like fucking Dexy's Midnight Runners. So I'm going to keep listening to Dexy's Midnight Runners and just rip off a riff from them or a beat from them or whatnot. No, I immerse myself every day with loads of different music. On this album, I listened to a lot of Survivor. I have done for years.
Really?
To a lot of Jimmy Jameson's version of Survivor. Cinderella, Queensryche.
That riff at the beginning and that sort of bookends A Stumble of Words has that. It really, I heard it and I was like, it has sort of a Queensryche feel to it. You know what I mean? Like that's so cool that you say that because you're channeling that thing. And I think that's what's really important is like, you're synthesizing something that you're hearing into your own unique style. And I think that's really cool and it shows up well.
I won't try and like listen to too much metal whilst writing. Angus pretty much doesn't listen to any metal when he's writing. Like tries to avoid it altogether. there's certain elements with the stuff that I write that maybe sounds quite a bit like death.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like there's a riff in the middle of Becoming the Ocean I wrote on tour in a hotel. That's, to me, that's just like a bit of a death hook.
Totally.
There's stuff
Love that.
for me and Angus. Nevermore is a big one for me and Angus.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of our sort of main inspirations. Jeff Loomis, Nevermore, Warrell Dane, that stuff. But it's like a band that time seems to have forgotten, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I've had to get up because my signal's getting a bit weird, mate. I feel like I've spoke too much. Fire away.
No.
Start shucking. Let's go for it.
I'm here to listen.
By the way,
I'm here to listen.
This is a great record, by the way. This is
Let me see.
This is a George Michael record. Listen to that, man. The first 2 George Michael records. Listen to those. That's
All right.
That's as good as it gets for a male vocalist, probably.
Oh man, I listen to everything.
Give that a go.
You know, I was actually thinking about it today because I'm a huge Radiohead fan, and it took me a while. When I listen to Radiohead, it always takes me some time between, like, there are some that hit instantly, like In Rainbows. Hail to the Thief took me about 6 months to really hear it. Moon-Shaped Pool took me 4 years. I went on a walk and I listened to it in my earbuds, and it hit, and at night, and True Love Waits hit me so hard I had to just stop and just cry, and I couldn't listen to the album again. And I still have, like, I'll listen up to that part and I just can't, because I wonder if you're going to get things like that where people go, because I realized when I put it on this morning, that I was like, this is a tough listen sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, totally. And I mean, it's, I do get it. I do get that people will find it a hard listen, vote for the lyrical content. And then I'm kind of like, okay, we'll just listen to it for the music.
Yeah, no, sometimes you're able, I think, to sort of allow the music to just take over. I mean, I do that with Mastodon a lot, where I can just, I can listen to Once More Around the Sun, which is a really dark album, but it has fun, and it's good. I love that music, and so I can kind of ignore the fact that it's as heavy as it is, and I mean that in the sort of existential sense. How was it? Let me ask you. You talked a little bit about the process, but I should get a little bit to what it was like working with Joe Duplantier, who produced the album, the lead singer of Gojira. Yeah, how was that process?
Mate, the guy is unbelievably nice. He's like a truly lovely human.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to touch too much.
You said it was really organic, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want to touch too much on the song structures or anything. He was like creating the overall vibe, the overall sound. And he was just like, this is your art. He was like, I'd be annoyed if someone come in and tell me what to do with a Gojira song. But it's creating a vibe. Now, on the last album, I don't think we had much of a vibe, a character. This one makes you feel a bit on edge,
Yeah. Yep.
And it was truly great. And Johan, the engineer who works on Gojira's albums, totally great. He mixed it, obviously, with Joe being a producer. Unbelievable. And I would like to go at it again, because I think the next album is going to be very different from Serpent, which is very different from Feast. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to release the same albums.
Of course
so
not.
I am working on the artwork that I do want for the next album, and I think if we get it in early, that will change everything. And I like photos. I can't deal with illustrations. It's not really my sort of thing.
Yeah.
I like a photo that will kind of make me think, wow, okay, so I have something in mind already.
Cool. And
I want to go back with Joe and be like, okay, we've done a heavy brutal metal album. Now it's going to be heavy. It's going to have riffs, but then it's also going to have this, and this. We've touched on all of these elements briefly, but we've not pushed them.
Cool.
So and this is what I think is a good thing about URNE and our fans. We've shown our colours and our passions and little flickers of different colours here and there. So no one's going to be surprised by, I feel like, whatever we will do, because they'll go, well, we know URNE like loads of music and we know they can write stuff like this. So I'm excited to see what we can do. And it's nice to see a bit of a fan base growing with us.
No, but I mean, you know, since I've been sort of extolling the virtues of URNE on Twitter, and you know, like there've been, like, Steve Hammond is a guy who's, you know, listening to my podcast, and he's like, you're absolutely right, these guys are amazing. And I do think that it's cool that you can build in modern metal a really solid fan base with, you know, with what is, in the larger sense of popular music, a niche kind of, you know what I mean? Like, Gojira sold the most physical copies with Magma, or not with, Fortitude, you know, in 2021 or whatever it was. And it was like, that's incredible. This is a fucking death metal, essentially a death metal band, you know, from France. Just, that's, and you can do it because one of the things that I think they look at, and just in terms of the industry, is that like a band that has a really loyal fan base that is like willing to go on the band with a journey, the way Mastodon has and Gojira has, and you know, that could also have a broader appeal. And I think that's really interesting. So I think it's also good to be like, I don't want to be egotistical about, you know, interacting with other people, but I do think there's a little bit of ego in terms of how you create your music and the response to it. And I think that's fucking good, Joe. I think you should keep that. You know what I mean? Get a little bit of chip on your shoulder. That's fine, because fuck them. You know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have, that's one thing. I have a chip on my shoulder about a lot of things. And I guess I don't tolerate, our management are probably going to be like, you're one of the most aggy people ever. But I am, in a sense, if I don't think you're doing something right, if I think you've done something wrong, schneid, or I don't think you've done it to the level that I expect, I will say something. But that's in that thing. But to fans, friends, whatnot of the band, I will always be the best I can. But when it comes to the sound of URNE and what URNE's visual aspect is, and you know, everything we want, it is down to me and Angus. And obviously James is quite new to the hold, but it is, you know, me and Angus kind of call the shots, and that is taken from a big inspiration from that Lars and James thing. And look, fucking hell, man, if you're going to put out Lulu, you've got to literally not give a shit. Just as long as you're comfortable with it and you're happy and that's what you want to hear, do it. But just remember, you can chuck whatever you want if you're creating. You know, and that's when you look at some, like, when you go to some like mad fucking art galleries, sometimes I go in there and I'm like, I have no idea what I am looking at.
Like MoMA or something, you know, I always think like this should be two wings. One is hard to do and one is not hard to do, because these are all fun, but Lobster Phone's not hard to do. And like, but like some of these are really tough. I just think I always love that. Like that's modern art, but that's just a basketball with like shaving cream on it. You know, that's not tough.
Yeah. But I wonder when people are doing it, are they thinking loads of people are going to think this is fucking genius and we're just taking the piss?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I'll probably have to dash in a minute. But what I would like to do, because we've just I've spoke like we're mates. At one point, I'd like to, if you'd have me, if you could send me a load of questions. I listen to your show and I think it's very different. I think it's very different for an English person. I think it's quite interesting. Half the time, I must admit, I'm like, half the time I am like, I don't know sometimes what the Yanks are going on about. I'm like struggling with this, but it's different. It's a bit edgy. It's a bit out there.
Oh, thanks.
And I like that, and I like your approach to what you like about metal. And I feel
thanks,
like
man.
Here we've just spoke as friends.
Yeah.
And I like that. I kind of like riffing with people and what have you. And but I feel like I could give you some actual solid answers.
What we've got is great. And if you want to do more, I'm happy to do more. I'll send you some stuff, and that's totally awesome. I'll let you go. I will also say that my show is weird even for Americans. So you're
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the word.
It's
That's great.
cool. It's just I don't know. There's like this. It's weird because I've obviously lived a different life to you, and I'm not. I haven't grown up in America, but it feels very nostalgic at some points, and I'm like, I
Yep.
don't know why it is because it shouldn't be for me because that's not the life that I've lived or what have you.
Yeah.
Cool,
Awesome,
man.
dude. Thanks for talking to me, and I'll let you know. Thanks, man.
Sweet, man. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
mate.
brother.
Privilege. Thank you.
Bye. And as you can hear there, Joe was gracious enough to offer answers to a few more questions, so I decided to put on my serious pants and send him 4 more questions on some of the most hotly debated topics in heavy metal today, as the thoughtful, professional internet music critic that I am. And here they are. All right, here we go. 4 questions for Joe Nally of URNE. Question the first. Is Robbie Williams real? Because I've never heard a Robbie Williams song, nor do I know any Robbie Williams fans, but it feels like the Brits are playing the long game on an inside joke, like, oh, the Yanks are coming. Put up them Robbie Williams live at Shitshire upon Butford and let's see if they notice. Is that the case?
Is Robbie Williams real? Yes, very, very real. He was in a boy band called Take That, who were massive in the 90s. And then he left them, became all famous, sort of mugged them off in the public. Certainly the main guy from Take That, who wrote pretty much all of it, was the kind of the main guy. And then he became massive and Take That went to nothing, split up and what have you. So Robbie, for the next 8 years, was this giant thing. And then Take That came back. And then it was gigantic. It became so big that all of a sudden he became irrelevant. It was mental. And I've actually seen Take That with Robbie Williams. The shows are unbelievable. And then they let him rejoin. They all sorted it out and they let him rejoin. And I fucking hated it because they gave him his own set within their set. But Robbie Williams does actually have a few bangers. He is real, for what it's worth. Is he annoying? Absolutely.
Question the second. You mentioned that people are desperate to categorize URNE within a certain subgenre. But when you're sitting around with the other doom and sludge bands in the heavy metal cafeteria, do you guys pick on power metal? Like, you steal their 20-sided dices and stuff, or are you nice to nerds?
Do we pick on the power metal nerds? Look, I mean, is it my favourite genre of music? No. When power metal gets something right, yeah, some of the bands, Hammerfall. I saw Hammerfall at a festival in Europe once. The crowd reacted like prime Iron Maiden just walked out on stage. I didn't know what was going on. Power metal, I sort of, let them have their good times. We don't pick on anyone.
Question the third. Is Graham Norton real? It's just all the same questions about Robbie Williams. Just apply them to Graham Norton. Is Graham Norton real?
Is Graham Norton real? Graham Norton is very real. Funny as fuck, actually. He was in a program called Father Ted, one of the greatest programs ever. And then he started having his own talk shows. The Americans love him. Whenever I watch anything and the Americans are on there with him, they love him. He is ridiculously funny. And now he's the host of Eurovision Song Contest, which is a big thing over here in Europe and Australia randomly. Graham Norton is very real and he is top banter.
And finally, question the fourth. This question has a subtitle, and it is To Dialect Twice. I'd like to ask you a question in my best South London accent, and I'd like you to answer it in your best American accent. Just not a Southern dialect, because that's a joke we've been playing on you guys. Like, there is no such place as Mississippi. We've just been taking the piss on that one. I mean, look at how it's spelled. So here we go. My favourite song on A Feast of Sorrow is the opener, A Flood Came Rushing In. Do you have a favourite song on the album, currently? Okay, that's it. And please remember to really hit those R's as hard as you can, like hamburger or AR-15. All right?
I'm terrible with accents as well. God, I can't even, like, straight away, I just think of a Southern American voice. And I don't want you to tell me off. Oh, God. I feel like pressured now. Is there no smart way I can get around this? Oh, Jesus. This is going to be out there for the world to hear how terrible my impressions are. What about, I've now got a green card. I'm actually a Brit who's moved. So I can do it in an American voice. That's fine. Or when you watch the really, 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 really old films from the 30s, sometimes I'm like, is that just an English actor making no effort to be American? Maybe. My favourite song, American voice. Currently, A Feast on Sorrow, and I can't do it. I'm cracking up. Like, my mouth won't allow me to be like, I can't even do it. It's A Feast on Sorrow. Do an impression of me pretending to say A Feast on Sorrow in an American accent, please.
Oh, well played, Joe. A little bit of interviewed judo from URNE's frontman there. Jodu, maybe. Yeah, maybe not. But hey, ask and ye shall receive. So here it is, me answering my own question as someone with a South London accent trying to do an American accent. Okay, American accent, got it. Just ate a hot dog and it's not sitting well, but I decided I can't afford to go to the doctor over it, so feeling quite American, thanks. And here's your answer. My favourite song on A Feast on Sorrow is the title track, A Feast on Sorrow, because I don't think there's a song on the record with greater emotional weight. And now I'm off to root for my favourite American football team, the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, I fucking nailed it, mate. Thanks to Joe Nally for taking the time to talk with me and being a good sport. If you haven't heard A Feast on Sorrow yet, what are you doing with your life? You gotta get your principles straight. Ronnie James Dio is coming and we need to look like we have our shit together, guys. Don't embarrass me in front of Ronnie. So get on that URNE record and make sure you adjust your Tiger saddle at some point before the next and volume for all.